Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Steve Johnson. How you doing, Steve?
Doing good. Doing good, John.
Yeah, so this is Steve's first time doing a live YouTube chat. And Steve, tell us who you are. What's going on over there?
My name's Steve Johnson, and I am currently in Atascadero, California, which is in the central coast of California. I was raised in Cambria, California, which is on the central coast, right on the coast. And my great-great-grandfather was a Portuguese whaler that got off the boat there and worked for, in the end, ended up working, well, his sons worked were cowboys for Hearst Corporation.
Oh.
Yeah. Way back when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Hearst, I mean, I know all about William Randolph Hearst and all that. But every time nowadays I hear the name Hearst, I think of the show Deadwood. You know, he was a character in
the movie.
Yeah, the TV show Deadwood. Yeah, Hearst was the.
I never saw that.
The second season he moves into town and just takes over the town. You know, like a personality bigger than everybody else. Just
and that's what he was too.
Yeah.
I did work at the castle for 11 years, and met Lindsey Buckingham. And,
oh wow!
Yeah.
Did you go insane?
Huh?
Did you go insane?
No.
You know, that was his big solo hit.
Yeah, no, yeah. You know, it was amazing how I met him. I mean, I'm just talking like we're talking right now, and I had no idea who he was. And it was a very slow day, and we were just talking, and somehow guitars came up on it, and he goes, because my grandfather had played the guitar, so I said, I always wanted to play the guitar. And he said, I play the guitar. I said, well, really, belong to a band around here? You play local? And he said, not really.
He's trying not to be arrogant. Like,
yeah. You don't know he said, you might have heard of us. I said, oh, yeah? Yeah, Fleetwood Mac. Anyway, so that was the story.
That's cool. You know,
yeah.
I just got my record collection out of storage. I moved away in 1993, and so I finally got my records out of storage. I bought a house here in New York and set up my and I don't know, man. I rediscovered Fleetwood Mac. So next time you tell him I said, yeah, good albums, good albums.
What, Rumors? Yeah, that was like one of the top selling albums.
Yeah.
Of all. I mean, yeah.
So you bumped into my buddy Tonic Ball. Where did you meet Tonic Ball?
This was only a few days ago.
Right.
I just happened to be doing what used to be called Twitter.
Yeah.
But now it's called X or whatever.
Right.
I just posted some artwork on there, and it was like amazing. In like 2 days, I just started getting all these people following me.
Yeah.
All these hits and everything.
Oh, so you just got on Twitter a couple of days ago. That's it.
Well, no, actually probably about a month ago.
Okay.
But I was slow doing it because I'm actually working on a piece right now for a lady that I know, and it has to do with her son and grandson and her other son that passed away and her husband that passed away, or ex-husband passed away. So I've been putting time into this piece. So I've been doing that and not really having time to do a lot of digital stuff. But within the last week I did, and it just seemed like all this stuff happened.
Right. Yeah. That's what social media is for.
Yeah.
It devolves into arguing over something stupid. But it's supposed to be, hey, check out this cool thing and sharing it with as many people as possible. So Tonic Ball took a liking to your work, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he did. Actually, I think what he saw was the illustrations that I had done for the children's book that was published, but unfortunately, it's not really bringing any money in. But it was published, and I think he saw some of the artwork. And he just got interested. I was posting a lot of it out there, just pushing a lot of it out there. So it got a lot of attention. And, you know, people like the way I draw and create and everything. So
you know what? So I'm going to, first off, if you're interested in Steve's work, this is your website where you can check it out. I'm going to bring this up, and we're going to check out some of your work. Let me get rid of this. So this is your...
Oh, that's the website, yeah.
This is your website.
Uh-huh.
And these are your anything you want to direct me to show people?
this website needs work. Unfortunately, I wish I had a place I could show you more of the work.
But look at this. I really like it. This is all traditional pencils on paper.
Right. Well, this was actually done on Bristol board.
Yeah, I'm not an artist, so yeah, but I love this. No one, I can see why Tonic Bowl.
This was done on Bristol board, and this piece, I was a resident artist at a local gallery in Paso Robles, which is one of the bigger cities in this area, and I got involved. This was actually a lady that we were going to church with asked me to do this scene. It's the one with the issue of blood reaching out and touching the hem of Jesus's garment. And I ran with it a little bit further, and I think she wanted to, because I did all this artwork on it, and it turned out really big. And
that's Veronica down there, right?
What's that?
Is that Veronica touching? Yeah. Oh no, Veronica was the one that touched
the washed his face. Yeah. This woman doesn't really have a name, that we don't know her name, but it's a very short interlude, and she interrupts the chain. They're actually, Jairus is right over the back of Jesus's shoulder, his left shoulder, and it was Jairus's daughter that was dying, and they're on their way to his house. And she interrupts it because she's had an issue with blood for 12 years.
That's right. Yes, I remember the story.
Mm-hmm. Which the number 12.
She had a hemorrhage for years. And I remember asking the teacher what a hemorrhage meant. And she was hemming and hawing on telling a little boy what it meant.
Yeah. And this was actually would have made her unclean in the Jewish religion. That was one of the main.
I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. Yeah.
That was one of the main things about it, was she was unclean. That's what caused the fear.
Yeah, she was an outcast because of it.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of allegories in there. A lot of allegories. Notice the three women off to the right of Jesus's shoulder.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for their looks. Basically, they're the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and pride of life. If we had time to talk, I could just really take this thing to pieces, because there was a lot going on there. Yeah. Each of these figures I drew separately. Notice the boy holding the bread, and Jesus said, "I am the bread of life."
You're right.
Yeah. And then the two tanks down there, where he turned the water to wine, but that was in symbolism of what he had done there. But yeah.
I remember the story. Yeah, I went to Catholic school as a kid. I'm going to bring us back to.
Okay. If you
want me to click on while I scroll down?
Yeah, if you could move it to. I thought we had other pictures, more recent stuff. Gosh.
Oh, whatever you want.
Let's go up. Go to go to illustration. There you go, right there.
This looks beautiful.
Yeah. That was actually a piece for a book that'll probably never be done. It was a book, a story that was written by a songwriter in Nashville, about an issue of the fear between a little girl, a princess, and a fox. The fox was afraid of little girls because he was afraid they were going to want to pull his tail, where the little girl was afraid of foxes for no particular reason. She was fearless, but afraid of foxes. They resolved that by meeting in the forest. And I think that picture's there too on that, maybe. But anyway, this is one of his dreams, the fox's dreams. And in his dreams, he's being chased by this little blonde-haired girl who wants to pull his tail.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He's scared. And she has the same dream where this fox keeps bothering her in her dreams. But they do eventually meet each other in the forest, stand face to face. And as they look at each other, and this is the key to the story, as they look at each other, they realize there is no reason to be afraid. And if we look into our fear, we're going to see that it's really not that big of a thing, especially in other people, what we're afraid of in them. So there was a lot of messages in that story. I thought there was another one on there, but that's the fox. This is after he's gotten out of his bed, or not. He's about ready to get out of his bed.
So is this in a book, or are these just separate?
No,
prints?
it was hopefully. I am selling the prints, but the book probably will never be done.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. But you know what? As with everything, and I've learned this, I broke my hip when I was 23, went through a lot of stuff. But, there's the one with her in it. That's when the fox comes into her dreams. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing to be afraid. Tell that to the chickens. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And this is in her dreams. This fox comes into her dreams, and that scares her. Now, and there's where they meet in the forest, and they resolve their fear by just looking at each other. And the more we once we've met the source of our fear, we're going to find out it's not really that big of a thing.
Oh, I want to point out this comment. This is my buddy Nick. Nick is a phenomenal artist, so he's enjoying you. So, he looks at things differently than me. So that's nice. He says there's a wonderful fidelity to your work, Stephen.
Oh, thank you.
And me not being a trained artist, I do see, because I've been seeing a lot of Nick's raw pencils, and I do see, like, I don't know, you both have like I'm trying to think of the correct word, but there's like a realism, but like a dreamlike quality to both of your works that just makes me, I could see why Nick would be drawn to this.
You know what I call it? I call it getting into the zone. Artists, it's a place that artists get to, and it may happen quick. It may take an hour to get to there. It may take a half hour. It can happen around other people. It can happen by yourself. Depends on the artist. But once you're in the zone, you're firing on all cylinders. Everything's working, and you're just in touch with your creativity. When I do teach, one of the basic things that I begin to teach, and I've learned this, is to draw what you see. Once you develop your rendering skills, which was critical in art a long time ago, where artists, they knew how to draw. Picasso could draw like incredible. If you look at his sketches before he took off and went into where he went, that came from just drawing what you see. Once you build up your rendering skills, which rendering is what I did when I did technical illustration. Rendering is just drawing a brake drum so it looks like a brake drum. See what I mean?
Right.
Or a cylinder so it looks like a cylinder, whatever. Once you can do that, once you can develop your hand-eye coordination, these pieces on this picture, I could put together because they were in my head. I basically built a file cabinet where I stored these images. John, the author of this book, who's a friend of mine, hands me this short story, and this page, I've got the whole storyboard.
Oh, so this isn't even a photograph of anything. This is just you illustrating for your imagination. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And I get so basically anyway, I read John's short story, and this one page, this one scene that's happening right now is the little girl is playing this. They're getting ready for Christmas. I'm pointing at the screen like it's my picture, but anyway, she's getting ready. She's getting ready for Christmas. This involves a mother and daughter and a teapot that gets taken, which shouldn't have been taken. But anyway, this was. I've got the storyboard for this, but there's no way to get it on screen. But anyway, because I've drawn things so much, because I've drawn chairs and everything else, the sketch that I did, I knew by following the techniques of the early illustrators, so the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, pre-Rockwell, pre-Norman Rockwell, and even Norman Rockwell was included. But these guys were just, their composition skills were incredible. So I picked up on that. And that scene where the white on the back of the little girl's head or the couch and everything, that's a vignette. A vignette they would do a lot because they wanted to keep the main thing the main thing. So they would leave white spots in their drawings and their illustrations, especially Dean Cornwell. Anyway, back to the picture. So there's an interaction. She's playing with her toys before Christmas, and her mom says to her, "How did the milk run go this morning, dear?" And that was a tough one. Do you see what she's got in between that on that truck in front of her? Can you see that?
Yeah, there's a lady churning butter.
No, it's a milk truck. No, that.
Oh,
no, behind that.
Yeah, she's got a milk truck filled with jugs.
Right, and so that's the question the mother asked to the daughter: "How is the milk run going this morning?" So basically, in my mind, as an illustrator, I thought, how am I going to do that? That's so vague. What am I going to do? Well, my thoughts went to, and you're in bed, okay? So you put your knees up and you make little mountains out of the blankets.
Right.
I thought, oh, that'll be cool. So let's try that. So I just did a lot of sketches, and I was blessed with a mother and daughter that I knew from church in Cambria that I asked, would you pose for these pictures? But this had already been done in a sketch before I had them pose. That's one thing that I want to bring out. Just because you can reproduce a photograph visually, a lot of artists I see, and this is my own little thing, but a lot of artists I see are awesome at reproducing photographs visually.
Right.
But is that art? It's good if you want to get your ego puffed up because people go, oh, that looks just like a photograph. Well, unfortunately, the way I consider that is somebody tells me it looks like a photograph, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but it basically will then take a photograph.
Right. So you're just a machine then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. But back to what I'm saying. I got off on that a little bit.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not an artist and I'm not arguing with you, but that's a skill that you need to practice, like to make your human. If I'm drawing Steve Johnson and I want to draw it and make it look like Steve Johnson, so you're saying that's to get your skills up?
No, that's true. That's true. But it's when there's nothing to it.
Right.
When it's just a reproduction of a photograph. I have the skills to do that. There are artists that have the skills to do that. I can take a photograph and put it right next to me and draw it so it looks just like the photograph.
Okay. But
that's something I battled with for a long time because that's a skill that I don't know if I was born with it or developed it. Okay, is it art? Anyway.
That's a good question. Because before I talk to you, I would say that, that's art. But now you're making me think that. So then a photocopier, is that art too?
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. It's a Xerox machine can do that. And the thing is, you lose it. Now, okay, back to what
if it looks like a photo, but you still manage to evoke emotion, is it art?
Right. Now, let me just point the relevance to that. Okay, so I hired a mother and daughter, and it was very cheap, but a mother and daughter to pose for me. But the photographs did not determine the artwork. The artwork was already sketched out, which is what Dean Cornwell would have done. Anybody, these illustrators, N.C. Wyeth, they might have hired models. They might even have them design the costumes for the models, but the sketch was already built in their head. See what I mean?
So you had to pose the way you wanted them to pose.
Exactly. They weren't enslaved to the photograph.
Okay, I got you.
The key that I really want to push, or I try to teach, is don't let that photograph dictate your art because it's actually the master then.
Okay.
Now, and I tell you, your ego will feel a lot better if people walk by and go, ooh, this is so good, incredible. Well, the thing is, if they, it's just, anyway.
Yeah, I get what,
So,
I get what you,
yeah.
but nobody has ever told me my art looked incredible. So if you saw how badly I could draw, that'll never.
But you wait a minute. You do draw.
No, I drew as a kid, and
Okay.
then
Okay.
I write scripts for comics, and I'll do like borderline stick figures to artists. This is kind of what I'm picturing, but go nuts. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay. But this is one thing that I have too, that I when I teach, and I don't teach very often anymore, but when I did teach, your desire is what makes you the artist. The rest is exercise. There's a lot of Tom Petty's bagging groceries at Albertsons.
Yeah. Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have that desire, now it's up to you to exercise it.
Oh yeah. Well, I am of the opinion, and you look like a gifted artist, so maybe you have more insight than me. I am of the opinion that you're born with a talent, and the best you could do is sharpen and hone that talent. But like, I don't think I could draw well. I think I could draw okay if I practice, but guys like Nick are born with something.
Okay. And I used to think that too. You might be born with a desire, not the talent. The talent is something you can create. When I did technical illustration, I was sitting there for 2.5 years under these teachers that taught me how to take a rapidograph, which is a ink. It's a very fine line ink, and to draw a brake drum in Mylar on Mylar with ink. And you would do zip tone screens and all this stuff to make that look just like a brake drum. Okay. That you can learn to do that. If you do it enough, you will be able to do that. If you don't have the drive to do it, you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to stop.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And by honing that skill, and this is different. I broke my hip when I was 23, and it was like a bummer. It was like bad news. But what came out of it is what you're seeing right now. The training in technical illustration after 5 years of not having fun at all, no job or nothing, because I had a broken hip, and workman's comp was like not good at all. They hang you out to dry. At least this insurance company did. But what I learned in the end of it was how to do technical illustration. Then, after 10 years at Hearst Castle, I finally decided to get back into my artwork. I reused what I had learned, but now I'm doing something different. I'm drawing illustrations.
Right. My artist for my comic book, I have a superhero comic called Heroic Tales. Renzo Rodriguez is my artist.
Uh-huh.
He did a technical drawing for his professional career, and now he stopped doing that. He wants to draw comic books. That's so I think he did this. I have something in my eye, forgive me. He has the same path as you, that this guy could draw cars and buildings and whatever background. So people say to him, geez, these details, but that's what drew me to his work, is the fact that he can do the draftsmanship stuff, and then he has the childlike imagination to put silly superhero stuffs in, which is Great Gold Worm says there's a fairy tale quality to your art style. It's awesome. I was going to say
now see, look at the teapot and everything, and these little dishes and everything there on the table. Technical illustration helped me to learn to render that stuff previously, because this is an exercise that I did in my brain. And I was forced to do it because basically it was a workman's comp that they said, okay, we're going to get you to do this. And it didn't work out. But anyway, so this is where they're interacting, mother and daughter. And it's fun, because what's fun about this is the funnest part for me is the sketching. I've got all these sketches and I just get into the zone. And I'm just going, okay, throw this over here, do this over here, do this over here. And I do follow NC Wyeth. If you ever looked at his work is incredible. And the guy could paint, and did a lot of work. Or Dean Cornwell, another one. They would manipulate this stuff to keep the main thing, for one thing. It's kind of weird how to say that, but anyway. this page here, this involved, there was
I love the cats.
it was a paragraph, and the book is out there. Nobody's buying it because
Kevin says it feels timeless. Yeah, I agree. These
But,
illustrations, they could be yesterday or they could be in the 40s. I
Yeah.
kind of like that.
Well, thanks. Thank you guys. Anyway, there was cats mentioned in this paragraph. It's just a paragraph about the mother and daughter preparing the Christmas, the goodies for the Christmas tea. I guess they do that, whatever. I never heard of it before this, but basically it's a Christmas tea. They do it once around Christmas time. Anyway, so they're preparing that. But the thing that really excited me about it, that I had fun with, was the cats. Because there was a small verse mentioned about the cats picking up anything off the floor and how they got to do their work around the cats. Well, I thought, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, notice the cats make an L shape. That's a composition skill. See how I've got the L's going on there? Notice the milk carton, how it breaks the plane.
Okay.
And the milk, and that jug of milk holding that includes you as a viewer in that scene. If that milk carton was totally by itself, complete, you'd be on the outside of it, along with that glass of milk or that whatever that pitcher is. If it was drawn completely, you're on the other side of it. You're not entering into that picture.
I got you. You try to make it seem like we're sitting at the table with them.
Exactly.
Nick has a comment that's kind of interesting. Unlike Nick, talent may or may not exist. I tend to think it's a gift. So we agree with that. But the real difference is, and I apologize for sounding cringe, is love. The more you're willing to sacrifice, the more you care, the better. I do agree with that. You said about Tom Petty. Like, just imagine if Jimi Hendrix didn't love playing the guitar,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. I keep telling myself I want to take a figure drawing class and
do it.
I should have done it now while I was out of work.
Okay, no, look at. And while you're injured, a good thing to do, what I used to do most of my work, I would go to Barnes and Nobles and go to the coffee bar upstairs, get a cup of tea. It would be in the evening. My wife would go out and go shopping or whatever. And I would just start to draw everything around me.
Oh, yeah.
And there's people in there, but you get to where you don't even notice them. The key, when you've really arrived, is to be able to draw people without them knowing you're drawing them. And the way you do that is you catch that image and hold it in your brain and draw it. You don't want to be staring at them because they'll kick you out. But anyway, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sit down staring at people.
Yeah.
I really, not that I dislike it, but I really like this. And I don't know why. It's just a feeling that it evokes.
You like this one?
Yeah, I really do.
This was the first page, and I was testing on how to work it. This is done on watercolor paper, where the other ones are all done on Ampersand pastel board. This was done on watercolor paper, and I felt like it didn't succeed. But this this is just a scene where a dove is looking out the window of right after the mother and daughter have their conversation. It goes to this real quick, and then it leaves it. So, I always felt like, but
I imagine you've got to be your worst critic.
Yeah. This one, I thought I had arrived, man. I tell you, I had a shop after I got fired from a job. I used to drive a bread truck, and I changed, and long story. I didn't get fired from that, but then I got let go when I was trying to drive a bus. And so I was on unemployment for a while, and this couple that I knew from church actually said, well, we've got something if you want to watch over this store that we've got. They're not going to pay me, but if you want to do your artwork there. So I took my artwork there, and I would draw during the day. This was just a drawing I did. Then there was this, no, wait a minute. The thing came out, I like country music, and I was raised a cowboy on a ranch in San Simeon. anyway, the 4,600 acres is still there actually. But anyway, so I did this. There was the thing where offering, if you do this Cal Poly rodeo for Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, the college there, there's a rodeo coming up, and if you do a poster, you'll get an interview and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. So I did this drawing. It got discovered by one of the disc jockeys. Actually, I entered it into the contest, talked to one of the disc jockeys, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff happens. And then this guy that did Western artwork with some of the big Southwest art magazines and stuff like that saw it. Oh, this got the poster. This did the T-shirt and everything. This drawing. Anyway, I thought I had arrived because Larry Bees was his name. He loved it. He invited us to dinner in Santa Ynez with all these major artists, which is north of Santa Barbara. And these people are just really liking what I'm doing, stuff like that. I thought, oh, I've arrived. Well, everything just kind of fell apart. And anyway,
people always say that it's hard to draw horses.
Yeah.
What do you say to that? Is it hard to draw horses? I have a Western story, and people like, I don't want to draw it.
The key to drawing horses for me,
yeah,
and I think for anybody, is get loose. Do a lot of loose sketches. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you understand. So you're building the file cabinet up in your brain of what they look like when they're doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this. And then so you've got a basic format to build from. Yeah, there was something else I was going to say, and I forgot what it was. Anyway, another thing, when you're drawing, for those that want to, if I were to be teaching people how to draw, the biggest thing you want to do is as you're doing your rendering, okay, rendering of a coffee pot, okay, you made a coffee cup in front of you and you're drawing it, okay, shut your brain off. Turn your brain off. Use your hands and your eyes. That's it. Don't tell yourself how to do it. You just explore with your eyes what it is. And the more you do, and when I start out like a drawing like this, I start with a really hard pencil, like a 3H or a 4H, and I do a lot of lines. Those small light lines that you've done with that hard pencil, when you go to a softer pencil, you can pull up the ones you want, and the ones you don't want, you won't even see. You don't have to erase them. Avoid an eraser as much as you can. I actually use a piece of chamois instead of an eraser. I could wax a car.
Okay.
Yeah. A piece of chamois and pencil is like incredible what it does to it. And a brush too. Actually, a cheap Walmart paintbrush or little brush. You can move the graphite around, but what the chamois does, it'll knock off some of it, but it doesn't tear the paper. Every time you erase, you're tearing the paper.
So let me ask you this: like Renzo, my artist who does my comic, he did the first two pages of my comic in pencils, and then he said, I got to get quicker, and so he went to digital. Do you do any digital on a computer screen or anything like that?
I did, and I don't think you don't have access to a copy of it, but I wish I could make it so you do. But on my Instagram page, on my X page, there's a copy of it. No, it's not on the website.
Okay. Well, I was just looking for more pictures to look at.
Okay. But I did use, I did an album cover for a local musician, and it required a lot of stuff. Anyway, after I got the illustration done for the cover, he asked if I would do the design on all of it, back and all the lettering and everything. And I had done that in San Diego. I had done it with tracing paper, and it was very complicated to do by hand. But I started going to the Apple Studio local here in town, or in San Luis Obispo, and I would go. They taught a free class in Procreate once a week. So for about 5 or 6 weeks, I learned Procreate. So I did use Procreate to create text, to do more design. I don't use it with my artwork. I might on, well, there's one piece I did I could talk forever, but
it's okay. I'm appreciating listening to this. Is stuff I don't know, so I'm enjoying it. So don't feel self-conscious at all.
The one I'm working on now, and I wish I could show it, but what I did, and it saved me a month probably, because basically I was able to manipulate the color on this sketch that I did. I did a charcoal sketch of this design that I had, and of these three faces with the one, and he's holding a little baby at the bottom of it. And it's in the background of a redwood forest. So you've got, there I'm playing with color. You've got warm colors in the center and then cool colors all throughout the back of it. Anyway, so, but I did a charcoal drawing. I put it into Procreate, and then with layers, I was able to color it. And if I didn't like the color, I'd go to another layer. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And then click off that layer. So I saved myself probably about a month by working out the color details in Procreate.
Yeah. The story I tell is like Renzo sent me a drawing, and there was just, it was like an 8-page comic book panel. And one of the panels, there was something I wanted to fix. And it was like, how difficult is this to fix? Like, I was up all night, like, oh man, I don't want to ask Renzo to redraw the whole page. And then what?
Yeah.
Does he have to work again? Do I have to pay him again for another page? Like, I was like, I don't want to be a bad guy, but this is going to drive me crazy. So finally, after a couple of days, I was like, how difficult is this to fix? He goes, oh, okay. 5 minutes later, he fixed it, because I didn't realize it was on computer and I didn't realize it was layers. He just said to me, John, it was 3 taps. I didn't know what he meant by that at first, but I figured it out.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how to do Photoshop. It's very complicated, but I do know Procreate, it's very cheap if you got an iPad, and you can do a lot of stuff with Procreate. But you can clean up stuff. You can get, I don't know. I like to keep the natural look. You can go in and I wish I could show you the color presentation of this charcoal sketch that I did, but it's got that kind of plastic look to it.
Great Goldworm wants to ask if do you like Merle Haggard?
Yeah, love him. I saw him in concert actually at the fair one time.
Yeah,
I can sing like, well, my wife thinks I can sing like him. But,
my mom thought I was very handsome.
Yeah.
My mom, I love this.
No, my mom thinks.
I didn't realize I could make it bigger.
Yeah,
I love this. Now, was this a photograph, or did you sketch something out and have somebody pose?
This was actually a site you could pick up these photographs for a small amount. I forget how much it was, but you get the copyright on them. So yeah, I did this. I did my rendering with this of the image of the drawing. This is actually a drawing that turned out a lot bigger, because what I did is I did a sketch, and then I got a projector, a nice projector, and I took that sketch that I did and enlarged it, moved the projector back and enlarged it and redrew it. But I did it in pastels. This is as I was just beginning to get into pastels. So this is probably about 6 years old, maybe 7.
Nick says digital's good for layup, but I'm going back to inking traditional. I see that a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of the artists I talk to, they would tell me, I didn't know this step existed, but they would print out their pencils on blue paper and then go over with inks and things.
Yeah, that's the old comic book way to do it. Yeah. So, projectors are they're awesome, because you can manipulate your drawing by just moving them back and forth. You can enlarge and everything else.
I don't know. I'm in awe of people who could draw. It's to me, it's like it's an awe-inspiring talent.
Well, okay, just don't be so sure you can. If you have the drive, get yourself a sketchbook, turn your brain off, put your coffee cup in front of you and draw it, and keep drawing it until it turns out like you want it to. And when it doesn't, ask yourself why and look deeper into it and see why. If I wanted, there's two ways you can go. If you want to learn perspective, you can go to a college and learn vanishing points and 4-point perspective, 3-point, blah, 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 and turn it into a mathematical equation. Or you can sit, and I'll just use the local scene. You can sit at a Starbucks and look straight down this alley and you have this big old sketchbook or whatever, a big old sketch pad, and draw it as best you can. And when it doesn't look right, look at it again and keep drawing it until you get that down pat, what that looks like. I don't have the picture included. I've got a lot of stuff that's not included, but I didn't know how to do it. So anyway, but the Barnes and Noble thing I was talking about, I used to go to the coffee bar when I was doing both books, and this is the second story, so you're up above everything else, and the windows are there. So I would look out the window and I would draw the scene below, but I would keep it in perspective because it's not like this, it's like this. And so it's just cool because you're drawing foreshortened figures. When you're doing things in foreshortening, you've got to tweak. It's not standing straight up, it's actually going like this. Anyway, I quit looking at myself because that looks weird. But anyway.
Yeah, it's distracting. That's why I always look at my guests.
I will.
I get like a conversation. Look at my guest.
I'll look at your Captain America shield there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, so Jack Kirby, Frank Frazetta.
There we go. Now we're talking my
Neil Adams. I started out, the first comic book I bought. Well, no, actually, my first love for comic books was the Legion of Superheroes.
Oh,
remember back we're talking about 1964, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was when it was Superboy, or was that Adventure Comics back then? I forget.
What's that?
Was it Superboy the Legion, or was it Adventure Comics back then?
No, it was Adventure.
Yeah, it was Adventure.
It was Adventure. They had Superboy in it, and that's where he meets the three: Saturn Girl, Cosmic Boy, and Lightning Lad.
Yeah,
those are the big three, right?
Right. But those are the founding members of the Legion of Superheroes.
Right. And Kurt Swan was the artist for that, who I really don't care for. But anyway, he could do a lot of stuff. But anyway, that fired me up. I want to be a comic book artist. So I'm sitting there, I'm drawing. You know, one of the biggest things that I learned to draw when I was a kid in third grade, National Geographic would always have on their back cover a hand holding something. And this guy, whoever did the drawing of this hand, it was so exact. I would basically take that National Geographic and have a piece of paper next to it. And it was probably lined paper, you know, like you get in school. And I would draw that hand. And I would keep drawing that hand. So it looked like that. Anyway, that was third grade.
Did you go to art school? Did you go to school? No?
I got, okay, so I went to Catholic school till 8th grade. Went to public school. We moved to Cambria, which is where my folks were raised, and that's where the ranch was and stuff like that. And being free from Catholic school, I just hit it like, boom, hit the gates running. And got into a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have. So, okay, leading me to art school. No, I didn't. I played football. I was a cowboy. I got a job, blah, 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 blah. Got into drugs, which is one of the biggest things I do talk about, art or students and stuff like that. Got into drugs. By the grace of God, I'm not dead twice from car accidents.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I fractured my skull the last time, and I lost my sense of smell in 1980. But by the grace of God, I wasn't dead. Anyway, where am I going with that? Oh, art school. After the workman's comp injury, I started taking, during workman's comp, at least my insurance, what they wanted to do is they knew they'd lost the case. But in the 5 years that they appealed the decision, that kept coming always back in my favor, they made an interest on what they knew the court or the surgery cost was going to be. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically during that time, I did go to a junior college and I drew and learned a lot. I learned a lot. Oh, this is foreshortening here.
Yeah.
This was a fun piece. I can't remember, Priscilla. I had Priscilla stand like that and I got on now the sketch was in foreshortening, but I had to have her do it. So I stood on a chair behind her. And later I bought a Winnie the Pooh at a Goodwill and these other stuffed animals, and I would just arrange them on the floor of this barn/studio and draw them.
So when you're standing, how long were you actually standing on this chair drawing this girl?
Oh, I didn't draw it. I took pictures. I used my iPad.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. I took pictures with my iPad.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
And so does this room exist anywhere, or is this room a creation?
It's a combination. It's a combination. The outside of the room was the room in Cambria where I shot the photographs. The bottom is actually the barn here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's nice.
And then
you got a barn that you turned into an art studio, man.
Yeah.
In New York, that would cost you about $18,000 a month mortgage.
This is a blessing. The only thing is about this barn, let me tell you, because we're going into wintertime now. Summertime, if it's 100 degrees out here, whatever, it's 107 in this barn. I have only a fan. Oh, wait a minute. You have the picture there. Could you go back to that?
Sure. Let's see. At the stage. Which picture?
The one of the girl. Can you go up?
This one?
No, down. Go down. That one. That's the one. No, the blue. That's the one I did in photos. All right, the Procreate helped me with that one.
Okay.
But it doesn't show any of the design. This was actually a drawing I did.
So this is all done by computer? I mean, not by computer.
No.
This is done
by hand.
Oh, okay. That's
The back of the album was done not by computer, but I used Procreate to do the.
That's what I meant. I poor choice of words. I mean, you drew it on your computer is what I meant to say.
Well, and he gave me like 6 or 8 photos that he wanted put on the back, so I was able to use Procreate to diffuse the photos and kind of push them all over the place for the design on the back. I don't have any copies of that. This is the technique I use, and if you want to know the technique, I'll tell you. I do a watercolor wash as an underpainting. So the watercolor wash determines the values or the lights and darks and stuff like that. Then I build it with pastel pencils to begin with. Then I'll go and just kind of build it with that. I will use some watercolor pencils in certain spots. Then I will go with the harder pastels, the little thin ones, the narrow ones. And then finally, I'll go with the really soft pastels. I was blessed with a really nice set. They're made in France. I really can't pronounce the name of them, but the colors are really intense. So that's what I pop on top of it. That's when I finesse everything.
Yeah.
And
it's very relaxing to look at this. I can only imagine it. This must be nice blues music with this.
He's got a really good style. It's probably his style is like not Crosby, Stills, Nash. His style is more like Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Okay.
Sort of a kind of it's rock, but it's very, it's not hard. It's very flowing. Yeah.
Cool. I just take it down when I scroll because you never know what pops up. Oh,
what do you mean?
Oh, I mean, like, because while I'm scrolling, it has our conversation, and when it says when we talk about how much we hate Nick X, Nick doesn't need to see that.
Yeah.
This isn't part of that story. This looks like a.
This was a Bible scene. This was one of the figures that was in the Bible scene. And see, each of that figures, I don't know if you remember that Bible scene, but
this is one of the 3 ladies. Yes,
this is one of the 3 ladies, and those figures I had drawn by hand before. The way I put that all together is I did each figure separately, And then what I did is I took a big sheet of tracing paper and I would trace the main figures first and then slip the other figure behind that. And where they overlapped, I would leave out.
I gotcha.
And I traced it all on tracing paper. Then I transferred the tracing paper to the Bristol board. Okay,
Cool.
but this I was training when I was a volunteer with the Art Association in Paso Robles. I was training another guy, and we were just sitting there drawing. And this is actually the room of the art studio where I was at. And I just popped her in there. That was her sketch. So I drew the background behind her. And I highlighted her a little bit more. I was just focusing on, playing with the shadows and stuff like that.
That is do you do anything like abstract at all? Like, are you?
I don't. Okay. Thanks for asking that. Yeah, I do. Every piece I do, especially on this last book, was abstract to begin with. Those pages that seem so real, the way I arrived at the end result was doing an abstract.
Okay.
If you look at, again, going back to Dean Cornwell, if you were to look at his work with your eyes kind of squinted and look at why he did what he did, and there's a square over here, there's this over here, there's a triangle down here in orange, and this over here, and this over here. That was the beginning of the whole piece. And so do I work in abstract? Yeah, it's to begin, it's abstract.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I fill in the spots.
I see what you mean. Again, when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
I went to a small Catholic school as a kid. There was a graduating class of only 70. So I was one of like the 4 art kids.
Yeah.
And, but it was
do I know that. I mean, I was one of it was good to get attention, but anyway, go ahead.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I keep threatening to show we made comic books as a kid.
Yeah.
And I keep threatening to show how these awful comic, how bad they are. But I remember like drawing and like, oh, you're going to be an artist. You're going to be an artist. Mm-hmm. But somewhere around 14, 15 years old, I realized I'd rather go work and get a job and get money than doodle. You know what I mean? And then I guess greed got in the way. But
I know, but okay, consider this. You've got this opportunity now. You can go into that and see what comes out of it. Especially you got your own stories to do too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I do character sketch, but I did when I first got this idea of I wanted to make a comic book, I bought, how to draw comics the Marvel way, the classic
by John Buscema
yeah, there you go. You know your stuff. Yeah. And I started reading it and I remember a lot of it I just didn't understand. Like he was talking about like all the images comes over here, it looks like a question mark. And I was talking to other artists and I'm like, oh yeah. And it kind of like discouraged me a little bit. I'm like, oh, they know what they're talking about. Like I'm not explaining it very well.
Well, but, no, I do. I understand. And the thing with that is, and when I did teach, one of the things I really wanted the most, especially when I taught at this Christian high school, and it was like a 3-hour class twice a week. Was it twice a week? Yeah. And everybody was different. I gave them a project and I let them apply themselves to the project with no instruction from me. The one danger of following somebody so close, you're going to be doing the same thing they do.
Right.
Marvel Comics was big on everybody being Jack Kirby.
Right.
That's why Buscema did what he did. That's where I remit. All of them was Jack Kirby. They copied Jack Kirby's style. Anyway. And see that book I've got that book by Buscema about how to draw Marvel Comics, but you're going to be doing them just like he does.
Right. It's how to do the Marvel House style. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get the Jose Garcia Lopez, how to do it the DC way,
Yeah. Unfortunate. Yeah. But then there's been, Frazetta, I brought him up. He got into my head not too long ago because as I was looking at his work, if you were to view his work, that's what really was another thing in my young teenage years, seeing some of those covers that he did, not just for Conan the Barbarian, but Edgar Rice Burroughs. when
Right.
he would do some of the Tarzan books, when he would do At the Earth's Core, or the Mars series, Venus series, or the Mars series,
Right.
that I would be just drawn to him visually. But now, as I've looked at his work, and he was fast, Frazetta was quick. He could get things done in a week.
Oh, really? I
Overnight.
didn't know that.
Oh, if you ever read, he could get. That's why they wanted him to do the covers. He could get a cover done in overnight.
Well, I know he started in monthly comics, so he must have developed a discipline.
Yeah, he did. He did. He was a comic book artist to begin with. You can see some of his his ink sketches, which were like incredible. But if you ever look at Frazetta's work, how he used the color, and there's a form, there's a design there, always consistent, whether it's a triangle, whether it's this, whether it's this. Remember back to abstract, and then the colors, the swirling colors. There's an orange that's up against purple, which is just like bam, popped right out. He would use those tools to catch your eye on that cover, and these different companies love that, because that's what caused you to buy, Tarzan at the Earth's Core, or Planet of Mars, or what? Not Planet of Mars, but John Carter of Mars.
Right. And everybody loves Frazetta. I mean, there's people who are not into comics who even know his name, which is, how many pulp novelist cover artists' names do you know? But everybody knows Frazetta.
Well, he did a lot. He did album covers for different music companies. Who was it? Meatloaf? No, that was Corbin, Richard Corbin, that did Meatloaf's cover.
Yeah, Bat Out of Hell is Corbin.
Yeah, Bat Out of Hell. Yeah. Anyway, but Jeff Jones, his work was incredible too. If you spend some time looking at what he did, incredible work. Wally Wood, the guy was just like fantastic, and he had 5 rules or something like that I copied down if you're going to do comic books, and he said
don't draw what you can copy, don't copy what you can cut and paste, and don't cut and paste what you can. I forget what but something like, I'm sure I'm murdering it, but that's basically
it's like that. It's like that, and he killed himself. Actually, he had lung cancer. Really a shame.
Yeah, and his wife was Tatiana Wood, one of my favorite comic book colorists.
Oh, really? What was her name?
Yeah, Tatiana, I think is her name.
Okay, yeah.
And I think she kind of got phased out when comics stopped doing hand painted
coloring.
Yeah.
Well, I go back. I mean, my first when I was in 7th grade, when I really started collecting comic books, I had New Gods #1. I had all when Kirby went to DC, I had all Mr. Miracle. I had all those. I had Conan the Barbarian #1, all Barry Smith, all the way through, I don't know, 16 or 17 till I stopped. I had the first one I got was the Avengers #46. That's what it was. The Agony in the Anthill, and that's when I saw Buscema's work, and I really appreciated it at the time. Although I got a little burnt out on him, but his best drawings were the ones where he inked himself. It was very spontaneous. If anybody else inked him, it lost that spontaneity.
Yeah, I agree. We've been talking for an hour, and I have to do. No, I enjoy this. I love when it all of a sudden sneaks up on me. But I got to do something else. Is there anything that I forgot to bring up, or you'd like to bring up that I never got a chance to mention?
No.
I like Marcus is also a comic book artist. He says Wally Wood's 22 panels that always work when some writer writes some boring pages. That pops up all the time. So this is your website. This is your art that I've been using throughout our talk to show some of your great art. I do love, like somebody said, that it has like even when it's just a little girl just sitting in a rail house, it has like a fairy tale look to it. I really do enjoy it. And are you looking to like do like I don't know, like a 22-page comic book? Would that be something that it would interest you, or just cover work? Yeah.
Maybe I right now I'm within a month of being a greeter at Walmart, so anything will work. Yeah, yeah. It's the area where we live and everything, I think. So I mean, I won't quit drawing, but anyway, yeah, that'd be cool. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. There you
Yeah.
go. I like I said, I'm every issue that I do, if it gets more and more successful, I have plans. I have plans for 3 more comics, depending upon how the next issue goes.
Yeah.
So, I'm building my empire slowly, I hope.
So who do you publish them through, or what?
Myself,
Oh, so
self-published.
you self-publish? Okay.
Yeah. So what we do is I go to Kickstarter. I started talking to people for
Uh-huh.
on interviewing people, and then I got the idea to make my own comic. I always wanted to.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, my mom used to tell people that, oh, John's going to grow up and draw comics. Well, I can't draw. I write. And then I do a crowdfunding,
Mhm.
So, but, I'm a construction worker. So I hired somebody, and my comic was mostly done before I launched it. So, but a lot of artists who are doing the work themselves, they'll do a couple of pages, go on crowdfund, and then hopefully get enough money and then continue to work.
To finish it. Oh, to finish it. Okay.
You know what I mean? Because they're not going to work for 6 months on something, then find out it's not successful. You know what I mean?
The children's book that I did, you're looking at 3 years. Because see, the place we live, there's a lot of other stuff I have to do here too. I mean, I got to help maintain the property and stuff. We're blessed with cheap rent, but anyway.
Yeah. So that's like the model that I used was, I paid for it out of pocket, and I'll be lucky if I could break even. You know what I mean? So like, but this guys like Graham Nolan, they're professionals. These guys are doing twice a year a nice big campaign. So I don't know,
Well, it's a drive. It's a drive that's within us to create. Whether as a writer, whether as an artist, or whatever, it's this drive that we've got to. We can put it away and just bury it, or we can run with it.
Right, I agree. Yeah. So so all I could say is you are available for work, right? If anybody's yeah. So check out S. Johnson Fine Art, and it is.
Or what about if they can do? Can they do X too, or Twitter? Or
yeah, I'll put what are you on Twitter again?
Yeah,
you're Steven John. What is your Twitter? I forget. I'm looking right at it.
Okay, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm looking right at it, and Steven Johnson 72. Okay,
I guess that's it. Yeah. They gave me a number, I guess.
Yeah, 7243.
Yeah, let me look. I might be able to find it.
So I'll put the @ there, and you can reach out. Do you have Instagram?
Yeah, I do. Instagram is Johnson1259.
Johnson 1259.
Mm-hmm.
So these. Oh, I didn't on Instagram.
Let me check, make sure that's the right one on Instagram. But anyway, and
I'll put everything in the description.
Johnson.
Anybody stumbles along this. But I'm going to get going. I have to do my silly comic book live action battle talk. It's called Clobber Time, and that's an open invite for if anybody just in 5 minutes wants to come over and listen to a bunch of nerds talk nerd stuff. You're all welcome.
But really, take a sketchbook and just do a sketch of your table, your glass tonight.
Oh, you kind of inspired me to do it. I'm going to try it out.
Get the hand-eye coordination going, and turn your brain off. Just
that I could do.
Yeah, turn your brain off. Just use your eyes and your hands. Get into the zone and just dance.
I know what you're talking about, the zone, because I'll sit down and write a script.
Yeah.
The next thing I know, my wife is calling me, John, let's go.
Yes, it's late. So, yeah. So you're there. Yeah.
And I'll even at work, as a construction worker, the foreman will lay out, okay, we're going to make this pipe run over here, and then they leave you alone. I'll put on a little bit of music over there, and it turns out to be fun. I bend the pipe, drill the holes. I'm whistling. I'm listening to music. The next thing John, are you going to lunch? I'm like, oh crap, it's lunchtime. You know?
When I was real quick, when I was doing the
Yes, sir.
technical illustration in El Cajon years ago, that was the one thing they said separated me from the other students was I was very spatial. And that's what you are too, to be able to envision these things, how they fit together. It's being spatial.
Yeah.
Now they may have said I spaced out too, but
I was about to say, yeah, they said I was a space cadet.
me too. I've been called worse. But anyway.
But this is fun. Come back in a couple of weeks. Come, you know what I mean? We'll talk again. This is fun.
Hey, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Can you send me a link to do that or a thing to do that? Or
yeah, I'll put it in the calculate. I'll put it in my calendar and then I'll reach out to you in a couple more weeks.
Sure. I'll let you know what's going on.
Cool.
Maybe we can figure out some way I can get this other artwork up there too. But all right, cool.
Okay, cool.
All
Thanks
right,
a lot, everybody. I'll see you in a
right.
couple of minutes. Same channel with It's Clock Time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.